Go.
Hello, welcome to this second drawing course where we'll be looking at colour. Today we're going to look at monochrome and I'm going to recap on some of the techniques that we learnt in the first course. Sometimes people use the term monochrome to just mean black and white, but literally what it means is one colour. So here we have a monochrome drawing of a leaf worked on black paper with pastels using browns. And here we have one which is almost monochrome, browns, oranges, just tipping into the yellow. So this is a limited palette drawing, a little bit broader than just one colour. And finally, this one, working with blues, so monochrome, but a coloured background to add a little bit of extra contrast within a drawing. So today I'm going to be drawing a denim jacket. Normally I would work directly from the object in front of me, but I wouldn't be able to show you that very easily. So I've taken photographs, and what I've done is I've looked at the jacket from different angles, moving it around in a window so it's lit from one direction, giving very definite light and dark shadows. And I've tried it in different ways, and I'm pretty sure that this one here is what I think is the most interesting sort of angle to draw from. What I'm going to do, rather than just jump straight into a final drawing, is I'm going to do some preparatory drawings to help me get to know my subject. So the first one is going to be a continuous line drawing. Continuous line is a great way to get to know an object. So the key thing with this is that you don't take your pen or pencil or whatever you're drawing with off the paper, and you're trying to get your eye to move slowly around the object with your hand. So I'm going to start anywhere I fancy. I'm starting at the collar here, and I'm slowly working my way around. If I see some detail that's interesting, I'm going to draw it. Not going to worry about this drawing being accurate. The point of this drawing is to help me look much more carefully at my subject, get to know it, and also to get my hand and my eye working together. Notice that instead of taking my pen back off the paper, I double back on myself. So there's my continuous line drawing, and lots of bits which weren't particularly accurate. That wasn't the point. The point was to get me looking at the object. I'm going to work back into it a little bit with a bit of a black pen as well, just to sort of think about where those shadows are. Better find a black pen that works. Just looking for the main sort of shadows, getting them in quite roughly. in there. Let's say this is all about thinking, getting to know the subject, not about producing a perfect drawing. Okay, so I've got some sort of idea about the lights and darks on my jacket. Now I'm going to move on to a second drawing. So in this second drawing, I want to more accurately plan out where the different parts of the jacket's creases and so on are. So I'm going to start with a box that would fit the jacket in. So it's almost square. And notice my box just comes down a little bit further because of that sleeve there. So let's see. Then I've got a corner off here and a corner off there. That sort of slopes. The middle of the jacket is sort of coming up around about there. Excuse me, there's the collar. Where does that go? It sort of comes down a little bit and then across. And this comes down. So just seeing where the main sort of lines of the jacket are. The collar, build it up just a bit more. Yeah, that's about right. Sort of creasing in there, and that's more this sort of angle, isn't it? All sort of hooked around. That crease running straight down there. And we've got the cushion coming underneath. Not sure if I'll leave the cushion in or not. You should see. The lines behind are quite interesting too. Okay, so that's helped me sort of just plot it out a little bit. Okay. So I've got two initial drawings exploring my subject. The first one, a continuous line, trying to just get the feel of the subject, and the second one, trying to plot it out within space using more simplified shapes. I'm going to do one more study, and this one is going to be looking at detail and thinking about how I'm actually going to execute the drawing in pastels. I'm going to be working on brown sugar paper. You could work on ordinary paper, but I would suggest with pastels to put a little bit of a wash of colour on initially. Otherwise the white paper tends to shine through. And these are the pastels I'm using. They cost about £6 for the box. Most people, when they first start out with pastels, will buy this sort of cheap-ish range of pastels. If you buy expensive pastels, they work slightly differently, but I will show you what you can do with the cheapest ones. So I've got a lovely range of colour there, but I'm only going to be using the blues. So pastels do make a bit of a mess, So I've just swapped my paper for a bit of a dirtier one. I'd recommend having newspaper down so it's easy to clean up the pastel dust. So I'm not going to try and draw the whole thing. I'm just looking at a small area to try and explore the creases. And my first step is going to be to just block in the base colour. And then I'm going to look at this area here. I'm looking at where the light bits are. Putting the light bits on and that crease, that's what's going off there where the pocket is. This area just here. And the darker areas, getting the black, just sort of cut that in. Just getting a feel for this. Work the pastels into themselves to blend. Now, when it comes to blending pastels, there are several different methods. Some people are quite happy to blend them with their finger like this, gently rubbing them around. I have to say, I really don't like that. So I tend to scrub them into each other. There's one other way, and that is to use a putty rubber. So here's my putty rubber, still in its wrapper. And these are very good for gently blending and smudging. You can use them to roll the pastel around. Now I just would like you to notice how there is a very definite hard edge between the light and dark on this part of the jacket. But on other parts it blends much more loosely, so the tone just sort of rolls. And in those areas I want to make sure the tone is a little bit more fuzzy, so there isn't a definite line. Okay, I'm just adding little bits of detail, and what you will find, worth spending the time just practicing, is there is a limit to how much detail you can get, how much contrast you can get with the pastels. You see the white now, I can't really get it very strongly white, and that is one of the limitations of cheaper pastels. It's why people often give up. The paper shows through too much and so on. There's a simple way around that, and that's to fix it lightly and then work back over. So I am just using some hairspray, and I'm going to give it a gentle spray. 45 degrees to the paper, holding it about 30 centimeters away. Gentle spray. Need to just let that dry for a moment, and then I can continue working over the top. Now that hairspray is dry, I can start to work over the top, and what you should see is that now the white stands out much clearer. And I can start to add detail. So this way of working with the pastels, where you put on a layer and then you fix it and then you work back over the top, allows you to get a much more effective drawing, building a lot more detail and contrast. I would recommend doing several experiments, practicing first. One of the things that people tend to get wrong with drawing is that they think it's all or nothing. You know, start doing a drawing, if it doesn't go right straight away, giving up. And that's partly the fault of people being told that doing art is all about talent. So it's not, it's about practice, it's about hard work, and so on. And so to do a series of studies to help you understand your subject will help you get a much better drawing. So I've done my 3 studies now. I'm now going to move on to a final drawing. So I'm all set up. I've got the picture I'm working from, piece of brown paper, pastels. I've also got 3 pencils, colour pencils, a light and a dark blue and a black. I've got my putty rubber and a hard rubber. Also, outside of the camera shot, I will have my 3 preliminary studies to help me think about how I'm drawing. So this one where I'd initially explored with continuous line, and I've put on some of the light and dark areas. This one where I plotted out the jacket using more simplified shapes. And finally this one where I practiced with the pastels. So, using my pencil first of all, try to just plan out the jacket. So I start with my square and coming down the corner, just cut off there and there. The sleeve sort of came down more of an angle like that, and sort of strong crease coming down here. The collar is about here, with the middle of the jacket, buttons coming down. Now I'm looking at both my preliminary sketch and at the photograph, so they're both helping me just sort of plot that out, and that's my basic plan. Okay, now I'm going to block in the colour of the jacket. Jacket is blue, so I'm blocking the whole thing in with the pastel on its side in blue, trying to follow the sort of lines that I did earlier. Okay, and not to lose where those lines are as well. Blocked it in. I'm now going to look for where the light areas are, and I'm going to block them in with white. Get that pocket there. What you should notice is that the drawing I'm doing at this stage is quite general, not going for much detail at all, just trying to see where those lighter areas are down the side of this sleeve. This is my base layer. Now I could continue to refine from there, but what I'm going to do at this stage to make it easier to add more detail is I'm going to fix. So I just need to leave that a moment to dry. So now that that's dried, I'm going to start to work back in, and this time I'm starting to build in a little bit more depth of colour, a bit more detail. What you should see is that the pastel is now going on much stronger. So I've been building up the lights and darks in much more detail, but you'll notice I haven't really got the lightest areas on there. So I fixed again, and now I'm going to refine and sharpen. And this is a key part of any pastel drawing, is it can often look quite fuzzy. If you need to, snap your pastel to make a sharp bit. I'm going to now start to sharpen up wherever there is an edge with a sudden change of tone. I'm going to try and sharpen. I can sharpen on the light side or on the dark side, but I want to get a bit more white in there. I'm sharpening this detail up. My white pastel. And what I can also do is use coloured pencils to sharpen as well. So on the inside of here, I'm coming with my pencil and just sharpen up those edges. Similarly, I can sharpen up the very fine detail, for example, around the buttons, around stitches, and so on. So I'm going to work on adding that fine detail. And hopefully you can see how it begins to just really finish the drawing off. So sharpening where it's appropriate. I need to sharpen around the edge of the jacket too, but I don't want to sharpen with a dark colour because it's actually quite light, so I'm going to sharpen with a light blue along that edge. So building in that extra little bit of detail as well while I'm at it. I should carry on for a few more minutes. Last bits of sharpening up. I can use a hard plastic rubber to just sharpen up edges, like so. Remember, the putty rubber is for blending, but sharpening you can use the hard rubber. But what I prefer is to block in the background as well. So I'm going to slightly contrasting colour, maybe too strong a contrast, I'm not sure. Just block in curtain that's behind there. Just keep, not going to do any detail, just going to block it in. So that it just gives a little bit more context behind the jacket. Sharpen it, blocking that tone there. Maybe just a bit more down here as well, I think. I could add a few extra touches, but I quite like that sort of impressionistic level that it's at now. How much you work into these sort of drawings is up to you, but as I say, I quite like that impressionistic view. Once you finish with these pastels, you finish pastel drawing, a light fix again, but I wouldn't fix it too hard, as the pastels tend to fade a little bit. They can dull down if you put too much fixative on. What I would recommend is to store them with a piece of paper over the top so they don't smudge all over everything else. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's session. And if you do Facebook, please do share your achievements on the Artful Facebook page, details coming up in a moment. Next session, we'll be looking at multiple colours, working with coloured pens and coloured pencils. Bye-bye for now.